This sounds fun. Lover of Men official trailer. Yes. Okay. Yeah, this is on my list because of some controversial shit. All right.
He is considered a sacred figure by both Republicans and Democrats.
He led the nation through its greatest crisis.
He's on our currency. We build monuments to him.
He's the greatest president the United States has ever had.
Today, the big question that people are asking is, was Abraham Lincoln gay?
I think if you asked Abraham Lincoln, he would say,
I never sucked any ding-dongs.
In the 19th century, for many men, their closest relationships were other men, and same for women.
Men would live with another man when they're single, and often did, and shared beds.
Lincoln probably slept in the same bed with men more than he did with women.
One of the things that fascinates scholars is his bedding down with Joshua Speed for 4 years.
There is love between those two men.
So, okay, I didn't know. I'm also not American. I didn't know any of this. If what they're saying is true, that lends some credibility to the speculation, right? We won't know because you can't ask a dead guy if he was gay. We don't know. But, you know, it's not unreasonable to speculate or to make a movie compiling all the reasons to speculate. Yeah, this seems funny.
When you put together all of the evidence, it's
As long as they're not just saying bullshit right now and that, like, they're saying things that are factually untrue, you know?
really startling.
Lincoln has a type: dashing, daring.
We have this notion that if you have an attraction like that, boom, that's your orientation.
Sexuality through the mid-19th century was far more fluid.
But for someone who wanted a political career, it was mandatory that you have a wife.
And say you're a Christian.
Speed, I shall be very lonesome without you. Yours forever, Lincoln.
What you have in the 19th century was very strict marriage culture. Get married.
What? Strict marriage culture in the 19th century?
And then everything is possible.
Captain David Derrickson became friends with Lincoln while they were living here at the cottage.
There is a soldier here devoted to the president, and when Mrs. L is not home, sleeps with him. What stuff?
He was seen wearing the president's nightshirt.
If you want a smoking gun, here it is.
But then you see all these shifts to the end of the 19th century.
Freud was devastating to sexuality, defining very rigid categories.
And they're saying if a man loves another man, it's unnatural.
Homosexuality is a mental illness.
It was not only wrong, it was punishable. If Lincoln were to look down today, he would see the United States at a particularly fragile moment.
History is so important because it allows us to understand who we were, who we might become.
Lincoln's legacy is the insistence on equality.
We have been in the house of power.
If you can accept a queer Lincoln, you can accept queer people overall.
He should inspire us to achieve a true democracy for everyone.
Interesting. Oops. I fucking clicked on their stupid thing. Interesting. I have no idea how to, you know, determine whether or not what's being said is true. But it seems like an interesting subject to explore. Is it out? Release date September 6th, US. Is it out on digital? Anyway, I'll probably see it at some point. I'm kind of curious what my boy
Today for our daily cancellation
has to say about it.
We are canceling everybody involved in this. Page 6 reports, quote, was Abraham Lincoln the original log cabin Republican? We here tell that a new documentary of Honest Abe posits that the 16th president was gay. Promo copy for the new project, Lover of Men, The Untold History of Abraham Lincoln, reads, quote, as told by preeminent Lincoln scholars and never-before-seen photographs and letters, the film details Lincoln's romantic relationships with men. The movie delves into the history of human sexual fluidity and focuses on the profound differences between sexual mores of the 19th century and those we hold today. The film fills in an important missing piece of American history and challenges the audience to consider why we hold such a limited view of human sexuality.
I think it's funny that this title is debunking the ridiculous theory that Abraham Lincoln was gay. Whether you think he's gay or straight, you can only speculate because he's dead. Like we can't ask him.
Directed by Sean Peterson, the film explores Lincoln's deep ties with daring, dashing guys and includes interviews with historians from Harvard, Columbia, Brown, Wesley, and Rutgers. One expert sums it up. Lincoln probably slept in the same bed with more men than he did with...
The real question is, like, why is it important to you to believe he is one way or the other? Like, that's the real question. Why does it matter to you whether or not he was gay?
Women. Okay, so we're back to the favorite pastime of modern historians, that is going back in time and recruiting dead people into the LGBT ranks. It's like the practice of posthumous baptism. Except in this case, the baptism is meant to make the dead person gay rather than Mormon. It was inevitable that this obsession with making everyone living and dead gay would eventually include U.S. presidents. Of course, we might ask.
I mean, when you go far enough back in history, if you were to be gay, you had to keep it a secret or get killed. Right? Like, it's not the craziest thing to speculate on. Like, if there's any reason, if they had like patterns of behavior that are more apparent to people today as being like, oh, they were probably gay, then, things that weren't necessarily obvious to people at that point in time, or at least there was enough like plausible deniability that even if some people suspected it at the time, that like their life wouldn't be ruined by it, sort of thing, right? I'm waiting for the debunking here. This should be interesting.
If you want to argue that a president was a closeted homosexual, why would you start with Lincoln when Barack Obama is...
Oh! No! What the fuck? What the hell? What the fuck? What the fuck? Oh my God! What? What the fuck? What? No! This is it's beyond parody. If somebody wrote that as like a parody of this, they would be like, that's too ridiculous. That's too ridiculous. That would be you couldn't write this as a parody. That's the funniest fucking thing I've ever heard. Oh my God. Barack Obama's gay based on what? Some Facebook posts saying that Michelle Obama's a man? Let's hear this one out.
Is sitting right there. I guess I'll have to wait another 150 years before they get around to that one. For now...
Was that supposed to be just like tongue-in-cheek? What I hate about this type of content is that when they say things like that, they have the plausible deniability of being tongue-in-cheek. Just being like, oh, I'm just referencing a meme. But they are also fully fucking aware that like half of the people watching this believe that unironically and uncritically. And so they're like, oh, yes, they gave me the little treat. Michelle Obama is a man. Like, he knows that like he's making content where a significant amount of people in the audience actually believe that. But then if questioned about it, he'd be like, oh, I was just referencing a meme or something. But he knows who his audience is. It's so annoying.
They're focused on old Honest Abe, who they say was not so honest about his sexual orientation. Here's a clip of the trailer. Watch.
He is considered the
President Abrams were bed with his
love.
It's a type.
Wasn't. He's out of the way. Just to get this out of the way, there is, of course, no evidence that Abraham Lincoln was gay. He could have been. I mean, we can't say for sure that he wasn't.
Isn't that what the movie's saying? Is like it's speculating and compiling reasons to believe he might have been? There's no evidence he was gay. Sure. There's no evidence I'm gay. There's no evidence anybody that's ever had sex, like a man who's had sex with a man is gay. Like you'd have to go into their fucking head. Right? I kissed a girl. Does that make me straight?
He's been dead for a century and a half. It's very hard to prove a negative about a historical figure.
Literally, exactly. That's what is that not the movie's premise?
Or even a currently living figure. So we cannot prove beyond...
Yeah, even a current living figure. So where's the debunking? The word debunking is in your title. I'm waiting.
...a shadow of a doubt that he wasn't gay. Just as we can't prove that he wasn't, as some historians have argued, a vampire slayer. I mean, he could have been that. But it's not up to us to prove that he wasn't something. It's up to those claiming that he was something to prove.
That's not what a debunking is. Debunking of a theory means you're like proving something.
Prove that he was that thing. They must produce the evidence, and yet they have no evidence. Are you still struggling with back taxes or unfiled
Holy
returns?
shit!
USA have upon seizure strategies. The NSA can
you said nothing.
The IRS east of all places. Now, interestingly enough, an article in the Daily Beast, of all places, the Daily Beast, debunks this Lincoln was gay narrative. This is from a few years ago, because modern historians have been trying to wrap a rainbow flag around Lincoln for a while now. The Daily Beast interviewed the historian whose study of Lincoln in 1982 inadvertently started the rumors that Lincoln was gay. But the guy behind that study, Charles Strozier, says that his work is being misinterpreted. Reading now, quote, according to Charles Strozier, the psychoanalyst, history professor, and author, Lincoln was straight. But Lincoln was by no means a hyper-straight lady killer, as some scholars suggest in reaction to the fact that Lincoln shared a bed with his best friend Joshua Speed for nearly 4 years. Whoever said that...
Wait, what was the rest of... Why include more if you're not going to read the rest of it?
Nearly 4 years. Whoever said that Lincoln was a lady killer? Have we ever heard a ladies' man? I mean, we could see the guy. That probably wasn't that. Anyway, Strozier's 1982 study of Honest Abe, Lincoln's Quest for Union, contained a chapter on the Lincoln-Speed friendship that started not the whispers, but the shouts that Lincoln was gay. The loudest voice belonged to Larry Kramer, author, AIDS activist, and founder of ACT UP. In his massive novel, The American People, Volume 1, Kramer channels his version of Speed's voice, recalling Speed's nights with Lincoln this way. And then we get a quote from Kramer's novel, which is graphic and gross. This guy apparently wrote pornographic fan fiction imagining Lincoln as a gay man. We don't need to read the totally imagined details. But the Daily Beast article continues, quote, this was a time, Strozier writes, when young men could be, indeed were assumed to be, close, bonded, and intimate, even sleeping together without being sexual partners. Still, it was Speed's therapeutic and redemptive friendship that got Lincoln through one of the life-threatening depressions that plagued his early adulthood. Joshua Speed was an intelligent, sensitive, and business-savvy son of a wealthy Kentucky slave-owning family. In 1837, Speed was running a dry goods store in Springfield when Lincoln, then 28 years old and a member of the state assembly, walked into Speed's shop. Lincoln had come to town to set up law office, but he was heavily in debt, needed a place to flop. Speed's offer to Lincoln was, no pun intended, straightforward. Quote, I have a very large room and a very large double bed in it, which you are perfectly welcome to share with me if you choose. Needless to say, Speed's proposition meant something different in 1837 than it would today. So this is what the whole case is based on, the fact that Lincoln shared a bed with a man who was also his close friend. But as Strozier goes on to explain, and as any real historian familiar with the customs of the time will tell you, there was nothing strange or sexual about any of this back.
Okay, so here's my question then. If we are to believe that the debunking is an acknowledgement that there were different standards in the 1800s for like what constituted as gay, and in the trailer for that documentary we saw like there were essentially like love letters too, sharing bed with men routinely and having him wear like your clothes and stuff. Like, okay, sure, we can maybe believe that there are different standards for different time periods of what would constitute as gay. My question is there the same amount of instances of this happening with other presidents, right? Like them making a documentary on Lincoln. It's not like I'm assuming that there isn't also just as much documented history of every other president from that time period doing exactly that, right? So I don't think it's entirely unreasonable, if that's the case, to be making this kind of speculation and being like, oh, could he have been gay or could he have been bi? Like, I don't know.
In those days, men slept in beds together. Family members slept in beds together. In fact, even today,
Yeah, family members sleep together fucking all the time.
in wealthy Western society are rather unique. And I would say pretty fortunate that we all get our own beds. Okay, that was not always the case. It's not the case even today in many parts of the world. In fact, back in the 19th century, even stopping for the night at an inn might mean sharing a bed with another member of the same sex. And that would seem very strange today, but it wasn't at the time. Like, I admit that I would be quite upset if I checked into my room at the Hilton and found some dude already occupying my bed, but this is not the 1800s. Expectations are very different. But the case for Lincoln's gayness isn't just that he shared beds with other men, which was incredibly common back in those days. The other piece of evidence is that Lincoln was very close friends with other men, in particular this guy Joshua Speed, as we heard mentioned. But Lincoln's friendship with men is evidence of nothing but the fact that Lincoln had friends. To interpret his close male relationship.
So he's just essentially reiterating what I'm sure the documentary also says, is that there's no like conclusive proof of this. Yeah, like what? It's not debunking anything. Like, what are you talking about?
Relationships in a sexual light is, among other things, anachronistic. You are once again foisting modern attitudes onto people who lived generations ago. It was not unusual at the time for men to have close, intimate, non-sexual relationships with each other. It was not unusual for a man to, as Lincoln did, write a letter to another man expressing his platonic affection for him. Now, again, it is different now. I confess that if a buddy of mine...
It was not unusual to marry a child.
wrote me a lengthy email pouring out his heart and telling me that he loves me and stuff, I would find it quite weird and unsettling. Like, dude, take it easy. I mean, if a friend came over for a beer and sat down next to me on the couch and said, hey, man, I just want you to know that I love you and your relationship is really important to me, I would find it extremely awkward.
And we wonder why there's a fucking men's mental health crisis. Damn.
I would not have an eloquent response. It would be something like, cool. Thanks, man. So anyway, did you watch the game last night?
Deflect to sports. That's a funny thing.
It wouldn't even matter what game, any game. I just want to change the subject, basically.
I say I love you to straight friends that say I love you to me. I don't know, like fuck. It's not. I don't know. What's your problem?
We need the goal there. But this is only because actual intimacy, non-sexual intimacy, right, between men no longer exists in Western culture. Male
Whose fault is that?
Friendship in general is dying, and
is it a conservative value or a liberal value? Did liberals and women champion against men showing affection to each other?
The kinds of friendships that men had in Lincoln's time are completely dead, which on balance, we would have to say is not a good thing, the fact that male friendships are dying. There are many reasons for it.
Name one.
Partly it's the fact that all of the spaces where men used to gather and meet have been abolished or invaded by women, which is the same as abolishing them.
What do you mean? We were talking about bedroom. There's nothing Okay. Men should have their own spaces for these types of things. I'm not disagreeing with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But we were just talking about two dudes sharing a bed, and we were also talking about two dudes expressing affection, and your example was a friend coming over and sitting on your couch, which has nothing to do with spaces being infiltrated by women. That like those things are not relevant. Those things are not connected, Matt. So I'd like to hear another reason.
And partly it's the fault of the kinds of people who made this ridiculous documentary.
It's liberals!
The effort to sexualize male friendships.
But you would, what do you mean? You just said that if a male said that to you, you would be weirded out. You just said that. You said that you wouldn't accept it. You said that if a man platonically said that he loved you, that you personally would not accept that. But it's the types of people that made this documentary that are sexualizing men. Now that gay people exist and don't have to hide, I have to be worried about being called gay. And it's their fault. And not to do with my own insecurities.
And to interpret all intimacy between members of the same sex as automatically sexual has had a very destructive effect. Oh my God. It's not the right-wing purveyors of so-called toxic masculinity, quote unquote, who've decided that it's gay for men to be friends.
Is it not partly that? Are you not, it's like definitively not? Are you not even going to say like it might be a combination of those things? Like it's definitely not? Come on.
Have been abolished or invaded by women, which is the same as abolishing them. It's ridiculous documentary. Between members of the same sex as automatically sexual has had a very destructive effect. It's not the right-wing purveyors of so-called toxic masculinity, quote unquote, who've decided that it's gay for men to be friends.
Why even say that when you just said the opposite earlier? Like in your own hypothetical example.
I mean, all of Western society used to be run according to what we now consider conservative principles. We used to live in a culture with traditional ideas about masculinity, femininity, gender.
We used to have slaves and child marriage. It was awesome.
Roles. And back then, in that context, in Lincoln's time, with a culture rooted in those ideas, men were able to
satire, YouTube. Fuck, I can't believe I have to say that.
Form close bonds with each other. It's only when the leftists took over that suddenly...
Only when the leftists took over. Were the leftists having been... Did they take over during the Reagan administration, Matt? Were they in power during the Nixon administration? The leftists took over then? Because this has been a thing for a while. What you're describing. Holy shit, you're so stupid.
Only male friendships became gay. Like that.
It's literally what I said earlier. It's like, oh, gay people exist and they don't have to hide. Now I have to do things to prove that I'm not gay. Like, that's where it's coming from. Obviously.
That's their doing.
That's your doing. It's literally in your fucking head. Have enough security in your own self, have enough self-confidence that you are not gay, that you can express affection or receive affection from another male and know that it's not gay. And the example you gave was one that was in private. It wouldn't even be for anybody else to judge. And you said you wouldn't accept it. But no, it's the left-leanings people's fault. They control what I do in private. Because they said it's gay, now I'm worried about it even when none of them are around. Go fuck yourself, you're so stupid.
And it's entirely deliberate.
Entirely deliberate?
Like they made it weird.
They made it weird? They made it weird?
They made everything weird. Quite intentionally. And that is why the people trying to gayify Abraham Lincoln are today canceled. If you'd like to see what else I have to say,
debunking, Matt. Very nice, thorough debunking. Jesus Christ, that was insane. What the hell was that? What the fuck was that?
Hey everybody, Olivia here. Thanks for watching yet again. It's October of 2024, and these are all of my beautiful supporters. Michael Bradley, Joaquin, Evia Del Puerto, Ivy Gladstone, Jordan A, Nico Fuentes, Joel999, Speak of the Joker, Modern Nerd, Snack Pilled, Cybris, Chevital Goat, The Flying Marlin, Lobster Ite, Mayra Geek, Mead Marmalade, Silverwind, HG Greg, fucking hell, HG Greggs, Clarice Carlson, Skanot on, Happy the Knife, Coolest Shirt, www.openclassextras.com, Emil Blank, Judah the Kinslayer, T King, Saliv88, Electrica is so bad at games that he beats Celeste in Chapter 9 in 38 hours. Why is that your username, Electrica? God. I'm gonna trip over that every time. Yep, the Super Watch player. Zachary Kane, Purple Fire, Gabriel Herrera, Lemonade Warriors participating in the Hitman game Among Us and is considered the encroacher. Sorry, I actually live stream my recording of this. And I'm reacting to chat like at the same time. Anyway, hope everything's going all right for you. Stay safe and have a happy Halloween.